Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your service and for being here. I very proudly represent the warfighters who serve at Eglin Air Force Base in Northwest Florida, and we are so proud to have the F-35 bed down there. We've got plenty of ramp space for more, hopefully in the future, and I also am very proud to represent the warfighters who are stationed at NAS Pensacola. And in my community, we know very well what it means to lose a pilot. We know the impact it has on the warfighters, on family members, and on the community at large. And so I was hoping, General Bogdan, that you could speak to the survivability analysis as we look at the F-35 and the F-18. Perhaps you could illuminate what some of the unique survivability features are that we can discuss in this setting for the 35. And then do you have an opinion that you can share now as to the relative survivability for pilots in the 35 to the F-18?
Thank you, Congressman. I'll take the first part of that question, and then I'm going to defer to my warfighters to give you some specific examples of what's gone on in some of the exercises that they've seen where their pilots come back and tell them how survivable this airplane is. So the F-35 itself is survivable across a full spectrum. And in order to shoot down an airplane, you got to do a lot of things, okay? The first thing you got to do is you got to find it. Okay? The second thing you got to do after you find it is you got to fix it in space so you know where it is. The next thing you got to do is you got to track it so you got to know where it's going. The next thing you got to do after that is you got to target it, meaning you've got to be able to know where it's going very, very quickly. And then finally you have to put a weapon on it, whether it's a weapon that's shot from the air or from the ground. We call that the kill chain. The F-35 can attack every point in that kill chain to remain survivable. It's not just about stealth. The stealth portion is the upfront part of that where it's hard to find it and fix it in space. But there are other things on this airplane, including electronic warfare, including other weapons, including information that other airplanes can give to you, that at any point in that kill chain, it can be successful in stopping you from shooting down the airplane. So it's just not about the stealth. It's about the fusion of the information. It's about the electronic warfare. It's about our countermeasures in the end game if somebody does shoot something at the airplane. So the airplane is very, very survivable in almost all environments with most threats. Now I will let my warfighter friends tell you about their experiences.
Good. I'll tell you, it's survivability. It's not just the F-35 aviator, but it's also everybody that they're associated with that. That we don't just have airplanes just to have airplanes. We support folks on the ground. We support our folks fighting ships in any climate place. I'll tell you that this airplane is giving our pilots a decisive advantage. You talk about the 20 to 0, the 20 to 1, the 24 to 0 that we've been enjoying out there at the weapons school. That's the 0 means we're not losing these aviators, and it's not just a fighter threat. It's a very high-end SAM threat, which in days gone by would have been, we call it prohibitive interference. And I ran a drill when I was a weapons CO, school CO in Yuma. We lost half the fleet, and we didn't hit any targets. So in a simulation, everybody comes back with a long face, talks about how bad the day was. In the real world, they're not coming back. So this is a very survivable airplane. I mean, incredible. The analogy they talk about, and just what General Bogdan talked about, in days gone by, when in my youth it was almost like a football game. Every player had their role: running backs, quarterbacks, linebackers, tailbacks. This airplane is more like it's like a soccer match. Everybody has the opportunity to be the killer. Everybody sees, everybody shares, and frankly, every exercise, whether it's Air Force, the Marine Corps, whoever's flying this airplane, embedded in a large package, it makes everybody else more survivable. The next WTI, we're going to guide for a Marine artillery unit, the Glimmers, give them GPS. We shot basically working with the Navy with the Aegis cruiser in the desert, simulation out there, but a real missile at a low-flying target out there, shot an Aegis missile with a Mattel, and it was beyond a mountain range and direct hit. We tracked a missile going up out of Vandenberg from 300 miles away. It's changing survivability for everybody in a very positive way. We got something new in our hands, and I think it's very positive.
Just to add on to that comment of increasing the survivability of everybody else, a carrier strike group fights in an integrated fashion. So we are mixing in this fifth-gen capability with our F-18EFs, with our E-2, with our Aegis class cruisers and destroyers, and then the capacity that that brings. And so, yes, F-35 is more survivable, but to the point that General Davis made about increasing that survivability for everybody else, it absolutely does that, because then that it's coupled with the lethality that comes with the entire strike group. We talked earlier about maintenance and training. All of that, when we bring this onto our carriers, the entire package, making sure that the maintainers know how to operate it to keep that lethality in the air, to make sure, and we've already put F-35 out in our Top Gun classes out in Fallon. We talked about training out at Nellis, but Nellis and Fallon, that's as equally important, so that our readiness is there when we ask for this capability, that it's provided.